work the regular 9 to 5 job until you're 60 or 65. You want to enjoy, like maybe you want to be like maybe work optional, or you can do whatever you want without the burden or the weight of like, I have to go to work because I need to pay my bills. If you plan your finances intentionally and clearly, you've set a goal, then you can actually achieve like being work optional, like even before age 65.
Hi everyone, I am super excited to introduce my special guest for today. I have with us Rae Lumagbas, who founded her company, Our Family 2FI, with her husband JJ, which helps immigrants with US financial planning and creating financial independence. Hi Rae, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Sarah, thank you so much for inviting me. I love the opportunity to share my story.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat to you about the amazing work that you're doing. But before we dive in, like, what is your story? How did you come to founding your company and doing the work that you do today?
Yes. So coming here to the US from the Philippines 5 years ago, um, I didn't really know like the financial system here. It's way different than what we have in the Philippines. We file taxes on our own. Health insurance is different. I was told that to live here in the US, you have to have debt, like credit to live here. It's just the way of life here. And I just couldn't accept that. I think there's another way. So I kept on reading books, listened to podcasts, researched anything about financial. I couldn't even ask my when I even ask my coworkers, like it's just the usual use your credit card. Like they cannot give me an in-depth explanation of how to work or how to optimize our finances. So I just had to do it on my own. And I researched, and finally last year, I like our financial plan just became very clear when I met people in the financial independence community. And that helped us, and my husband and I and our family, that helped us have a clearer path to financial independence without adapting the accepted way or the normal way to gaining, or the accepted way here in the US, the normal way. Um, and I started sharing that story to the nurses, like in the Facebook group, because I started sharing that story in the like sharing it to them, how my dreams change. Like it doesn't have to be like a big house or a fancy car. Like you can start simple, you can dream for simple things and you'll be happy. And also take grabbing the opportunities that America has that we don't have in the Philippines. Like there's just a lot of opportunities here. And from that, many reached out to me and asked me like, oh, okay, like what is Roth IRA? Like how do you optimize your finances? Like a lot of especially Filipinos, a lot of them reached out to me, and it just like became like a burden. Like how are how come do they um like know about this, and they've been here for years or for 3 years, but they don't like they need guidance. And I was just so blessed that I like numbers, I like math, I like finance, and learning about it became a passion. So I decided like why not get certified, so then I will know how to best guide them in their finance journey here in the US.
Okay. I love everything about this. First of all, I feel so seen as an immigrant to the US. Like, even though I'd immigrated to Canada before here, I just kind of like, assumed that the US was going to be similar to Canada, but it's really not. It's like very, very different. And I think even for people who are listening who aren't immigrants, like a lot of people just aren't financially educated and aren't having these conversations, with anybody. Um, so I think it's really cool that you've brought this fresh perspective of somebody who like is good at the financial side of things, and like you've questioned things as you've come into this new system, and so you're kind of like not just doing it the way everybody's doing it. And you're able to provide that education, not just for immigrants, but I'm sure for a lot of other people too who just don't have that
Yes.
education. So I'm really curious, first of all, like when you say the financial independence community, like what do you mean by that?
So this community doesn't accept that we have to work like until we're 60 or 65 years old. We can be independent even before that by being intentional with our spending right now. So if you don't want to like work the regular 9 to 5 job until you're 60 or 65, um, you want to enjoy, like maybe you want to be like maybe work optional, or you can do whatever you want without the burden or the weight of like I have to go to work because I need to pay my bills. If you plan your finances intentionally and clearly, you've set a goal, then you can actually achieve like being work optional, like even before age 65 or 60.
I love
Yeah, or that's the accepted number. Like, yeah. So, but you don't have to work until then.
I love this language of work optional because I feel like before now, and I was having this conversation with the guest that we had on our show last week, just about like what is the new perspective on retirement? Because I feel like, younger generations, our generations, like, it was more normal for previous generations to, like you say, work until you're 65, build up your retirement, and then stop working and retire. But I feel like that's not really the vision for a lot of people, particularly entrepreneurs, because it's like the
Yeah.
vision is more like, I want to have a life that's filled with purpose and progress and passion and impact and contribution. And, yeah, it's great to maybe build a business or like, sell that business or build up some assets to be able to invest and, yeah, create freedom. But I don't think this idea of retiring, like, I don't know. For me, I'm like, I'm never gonna want to just sit around and like drink pina coladas on the beach and not do anything. I think that was a fantasy for me at some point. But then, since creating, and I feel like in entrepreneurship, it's more like financial freedom is the language that people are using of like unlimited income, unlimited choices, like being able to have agency over your life and your schedule and your flexibility and what you're doing. But I really, really like this terminology of like work optional, which, yeah, basically is financial freedom where you can afford to not work. Um, so I'm really curious, you said you've come into the system and you've seen how like debt is really normalized and it's kind of like necessary to build your credit score and all of this. Like what parts of the system have you rejected and have you been kind of working around or doing differently?
Well, during the process of learning, reading books and listening to podcasts, researching on my own, asking people, I've I've learned that um, you don't really need to be in debt with three big expenses like their food, um, transportation, and a house. So when I came here, since everybody was telling me, like even friends and family, even they were telling me like, okay, just get into that, build your credit. Um, so I got into a car loan payable for 3 years, and as I kept on searching about the U.S. financial system here, I learned that, well, if I have the money, I can just pay I can just pay off the car right away. So that after I paid that off in like 7 months, I that led me to more opportunities. Like, okay, what's next? I built my emergency fund after, and after I've built that, I went into investing. So no more car payments since then. For that's almost 5 years already. And with the house, we bought a four unit apartment, and we lived in one. So it's our tenants paying the house, and that helped us, like, oh, okay, I don't need to be paying this, like there's a what's this there's a technique where you don't have to be like paying all of this big stuff.
So what you're saying is, yeah, this whole idea of having debt and lines of credit isn't required to basically build your credit score or to have access to other opportunities like mortgages and stuff like that.
I do use a credit card, but I just pay it off like every month. So like I've been doing that since even when I was in the Philippines. Um, yeah, like I just pay it off every month.
Good money habits, good financial independent habits. So, what would you say to someone who's like, I'm kind of new to the whole conversation of financial planning and financial independence? What's the most important place for me to start focusing my time and energy?
I would say to track your expenses. I've learned that people don't really know where their money is going. And I've had friends who would say, "Oh, I'm spending too much," but like, well, it's not really like too much. It's you just have to be intentional. Like, I'm spending too much on unnecessary things. Well, they know that, but what if you really you like what if you really need it? Like you just need to be intentional on your expenses. And I have another friend also who said lately they've been tracking their expenses, um, and then realized that they've just been swiping their credit card like without thinking. And it would go to their budget app. Like it would notify through their budget app, and they will like realize, oh, I'm spending too much. So I think you need to know what you're spending, um, and then create a spending plan, a budget, so that you don't go overboard. Once you have the budget, you'll be able to like know like what your goal is, what your financial goal is.
Yeah, I
And
think,
I think
sorry.
also you need to know the like your why, like your values. Like you need to know your why so that you'll be able to know what your like what what is this thing, like when you spend, you'll be able to know like is this thing that I'm gonna buy like give value to me.
Right. And I think that's often like the biggest piece of like financial organization is like really being clear on what you actually want in life. And um and I think sometimes there's like, there's a lot of push pull between what we think we want and what we actually want. Like, especially in America, which is just like capital of the world for consumerism and like opportunity and, experiences. And like, no matter how much money you have, there is like more than enough things to spend it on here, right? And like, I think what you said is really important. Like, it's the intentionality and why, like, looking, that's such a powerful question to ask, like, why am I spending this money on these things, and really getting clear on like, well, yeah, maybe these do align with my values, but if I zoom out and I'm actually super clear on my priorities in terms of what I want, not only now, but yeah, like you say, down the road, like what is the big picture, and then adjusting those spending decisions accordingly, which is really what, I've been learning having a budget is about. Like, it's not about control or restriction. It's really about intentionality and alignment and choices. Um, and yeah, and I've been interviewing so many interesting people and having these conversations about money. And it's like it's so emotional. Our behavior, I mean, anything that we do is driven by emotion, right? But particularly when it comes to money, there's so many emotions involved. So like you say, like a lot of people are just, they're spending because of like an impulse or an emotion in that moment that's leading to an action that maybe doesn't necessarily like, align with the vision and the intentionality of where you want to go.
Before we get back to the episode, I have something exciting to tell you about. There were a couple of key things that changed everything in my life as an entrepreneur that allowed me to bring in 6 figures while working half as many hours and having more fun than ever before in my business. It was money mindset work around how I was doing business, combined with getting good at sharing strategic sales content online. I know you know that this is your year to start hitting your 10K month income goal and living the life of creative freedom and fulfillment you have been dreaming about. You're ready to be consistently attracting total dream soulmate clients through the creative content you're sharing on social media, and you want to be reaching more people, charging higher rates, and working much less. So I'm very excited to invite you to join me in Freedom Club, my mastermind, where you'll receive tailored high-level support to master the skills that will create your dream life and 6-figure dream business starting now. With focused weekly trainings and coaching calls to find the clarity on your content that's going to make you the most money, to design a simple, fun launch strategy you'll enjoy following through on, plus daily support and feedback from me in the Voxer chat, you'll find that sweet spot in your business where you're the most confident in your work, having the most fun, and making the most money. Go to withsarahmac.com/freedom club to apply now. Now let's get back to the episode.
So yeah, I'm curious to hear about, your experience of coming to America and, like you said, seeing that there's a lot of opportunities here. What are some of those opportunities that you've been leveraging that maybe you didn't have access to before in your life in the Philippines?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is, well, it's always been my dream to 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 retire with apartments. And then I just collect rent payments. And then when I got here in the US, as I was learning, I'm like, oh, I can own an apartment right now, even when I'm not retired yet. So that's just like one of the biggest opportunities. So that's why 3 years after we got here in the US, we got an apartment, lived in one of the units, and then after a year later, we bought our own house, but we still have that apartment. We are still planning to we're still planning to get more properties slowly as I'm still learning. Right now, our project for this year is just different, but that's one of opportunities that I don't have to wait until I'm 65 to buy properties. I can buy properties while during my financial journey.
Amazing. And how do you, plan out some of those like bigger goals around your financial independence? Like, do you have kind of like a 5-year, 10-year plan where it's like, what you're doing each year? So talk to me a little bit about your process around that.
Yes. So right now our goal is to be coast fi. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it means it's a type of financial independence strategy where you save this amount of money so that so when you reach that amount of money, you stop contributing to it, and it will grow every year until you're 60 or 65 years old, and that will be enough, and that will be enough for your retirement.
And is that in like investments, in stocks?
In stocks, yeah,
Okay.
in index funds. So our goal right now is to be coast five by the end of 2025, and hopefully we'll be able to. Right now we are on the 50 to 60% savings rate, and if we can continue that until the end of 2025, we can stop contributing to it. We'll be okay with our retirement. Everything goes right.
And
And
is that like taking into consideration like all of your investments and your properties, or is it independently of that?
it's just for index funds. The properties, it's a different story. Um, I the rental properties will be add on, or we'll pay that for college, because right now I don't have a college fund for them. Um, we can either have them apply for scholarships. I'm also learning that, because I've also learned that you don't have to be in college debt. You can apply for scholarships or be a working student. There's like a lot of options. And one of that is to like using a rental property to pay college. Like I don't know, like, but that's just an extra.
Yeah, that's so smart. And are you saying that that opportunity was available to you just because like the mortgage lending system here is a lot more like kind of generous than in the Philippines?
Oh yes. In well, in the Philippines, if you were as the nurses pay there is not really that good.
Okay.
It Yeah, we are getting paid there $200 a month. Well, when I used to live there, it was $200 a month. That's not a lot. You can really buy a rental property with that one.
Right, right. Yeah, because of the difference in income, obviously. And now you're in the US, crushing it, living the American dream, not going into debt.
Yeah.
Props to you guys.
That's
So,
a lot. There's just a lot of opportunities that we are trying to take advantage of, and we just wanna share it with um immigrants as well, and not just waste the opportunities that they have, that they're given to them when they come here.
totally. And that's what I love the most about immigrants is like when you come to a new country, you feel so lucky to be given that opportunity that you like, it's like a kid in a candy store and you're like, I want to make the most of everything that like I didn't have access before. I want to see everything, I want to do everything, experience everything, like learn about all the opportunities. And yeah, I feel like immigrants as like a group of people are just like very opportunistic, like appreciative, like really dedicated and like ambitious group of people, which obviously America was like founded by adventurous immigrants, right? People who like came seeking opportunity. And yeah, like that's totally the vibe here. So, what are some of the biggest like mistakes or, things that kind of hold people back when they come to you and they're like, I need help with financial planning?
Well, it's mostly, well, the ones that when they reach out to me, they want to invest. And like I always tell them, make sure that you don't have any consumer debts like credit card or big monthly payments, big car monthly payments, because that will just hinder, not really hinder, but that will slow down your your investing journey. And that will also, like, especially if you don't have emergency fund also, that will just like, yeah, it will slow down your investing journey. um
So your advice is like pay off any consumer debts first, or what's your perspective on like paying down debts and building up saving at the same time?
what do you mean?
Like, are you like just pay down your credit cards like number one goal and then start to build up your savings, or do you believe in like beginning to build up savings at the same time as paying down debt?
I would recommend to just pay it off, like just be done with it. And then just make sure that you won't, because I think habit and exercising your frugality muscles is very important to building your savings. like a big amount of savings and investing. Um, yeah.
Right, like keeping it simple and just
Yes.
knowing kind of what your next milestone is and being super focused on meeting that goal. And then once you've knocked that down, then it's like build up your emergency fund. And then once your emergency fund is built up, then you can start thinking about investing.
Yes, it's just simpler like that. I mean, like like it's more of like 80% behavior. Maybe if you like it's more of 80% behavior and only 20% numbers. So once you've tackled your debt, once you've tackled um your your spending habits, then you can move on to the next one. If you're trying to get in if you're trying to like invest, save for this, trying to get rid of that, trying to um get into the habit of not going into credit, like it's just too much. It's just too
Yeah,
much.
totally. I love that concept. What did you say? Building your frugality muscle.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's like you're creating margins within your earnings to pay down your debt, and then obviously like that margin then gets to be stacked towards your savings and investing.
Mhm.
Okay, I love this conversation. Okay, what is like the main message on your heart? Like, what do you wish more people knew about financial planning?
Well, I hope for immigrants to have a right guide to so that they can start their financial journey here in the US. Um, right. Right. When you don't get into debt, build up like not fall into the what do you call that? The Jonases.
Yeah, yeah, like trying to keep up with the
Trying to keep up
Joneses.
with
Yeah,
not to try to keep up with the Joneses, because sometimes immigrants can be like, ooh, I can have this right away. I can have this big house right away. But like, you don't have to do that. Like what, like I hope for immigrants to know their like what they really want, like what they really value, so that they won't waste the opportunity of like coming here. They won't waste the time that they spend on working just to keep up like with what's the normal here.
yeah, I think that's such an important message, even for non-immigrants too, right? Because that is like, the American dream is so potent. Like the biggest like thing that is exported from America is like media, and Hollywood and movies and TV and it like commercialism, right? And just like the picture of sometimes I wonder like what came first? Was it like Hollywood or the American dream? It's like and then it just becomes this like Ouroboros eating its tail and it's like everyone has this vision of like yeah like you say the big house and like the cars and like luxurious lifestyle because there is all of the space and there are all of these like incredible different environments that you can experience and live in America and it's not the same for us as it was for our parents' generation where they just like bought a house when they were in their 20s and like had loads of money and the economy was strong and that's just not our story and yeah, and I think that's something that I think about a lot, I'm like, what do I, and I don't even really want to live in a giant house. Like, it's more to take care of. It's like more overhead. Like, I would rather have that money to put towards other things that I value, like not having to work so much and travel, and experiences or education or creative projects. And yeah, like it takes work to kind of unplug from the cultural conditioning of like this is what's going to make you happy, which is what a lot of the messaging will tell you, and to get really clear on like actually what is important to me and my family, what really does make us happy, what do we want to, you know, be spending our money on. And like, I love your story that you shared, that you had this vision for when you were, you know, in retirement, and then you were like, oh no, like I can have that now. And really seeing how much of that is accessible to us now to some degree, and then we get to build on that, and yeah, to really know what our values are, and to be able to use that freedom of choice for the things that genuinely make us happy and align. So I love that this is the work that you're doing, and the message that you're sharing. I think it's so important. It really is like the foundation of a life of freedom, right? So where can people find out more about what you're up to at the moment? What have you got going on, and where can people find you?
Well, I'm mostly active in Instagram. It's Our Family to Fi. I have also a Facebook page. I'm trying to be active in that one also. It's still Our Family to Fi, Fi, which just means financial independence. I've just started my coaching business is it February? Okay, last week. I've just opened it. So for those who are struggling with their money, who doesn't know, like who don't know like what their goals are, or like what do they do, where they're gonna start, you can go to my page and just DM me, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming and having this conversation with us today. And thank you everybody for watching. Please share this with anybody who you know could benefit from this episode, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com, and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.